Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Reading with me. And this, for moments again, is episode 5. It's episode 5 of Reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And so, my God, I think we were in page 64 the last time. So, I'm going to proceed from where I ended. And this session is going to take 1 hour. And if you're there listening to me, I've been following my previous readings. I'm pretty sure you have gained some value after this. Myself, I've gained a lot of value from this book. And without wasting time, let me not talk too much. Let's hop back into the reading. This pattern, so there is a drawing up here. We can see it's showing some income statement and a balance sheet. And this is the reason why middle class struggle. It's because when the income increases, the expenses increase. We can see this from the patch right there. And also in the balance sheet, we can see that the asset is constant. The things which add value into your economy is small, but the liability stuffs the which drain out money, they keep increasing. So that's the reason why the middle class always struggle. This pattern of treating your home as an investment and the philosophy that a pay raise means you can buy a larger home or spend more is the foundation to today's debt-ridden society. Increased spending throws families into greater debt and into more financial uncertainty. Even though they may be advancing in their jobs and receiving raises on a regular basis, this is high risk living caused by weak financial education. The massive loss of jobs in recent times proves how shaky middle class really is financially. Company pension plans are being replaced by 401k plans. Don't know what that means, but Social Security is obviously in trouble and can't be relied upon as a source for retirement. Panic has set in for middle class. Today's mutual funds are popular because they supposedly represent safety. Average mutual fund buyers are too busy working to pay taxes and mortgages, mortgage, save um save for their children's college and pay off credit cards. They do not have time to study investing. So they rely on the expertise of the manager of a mutual fund. Also, because the mutual fund includes many different types of investments, they feel their money is safer because it is diverse. This educated middle class subscribes to the dogma which put out by the mutual fund brokers and financial planners. Play it safe, avoid risk. The real tragedy is that the lack of early financial education is what creates the risk faced by average middle class people. The reason they have to play it safe is because their financial positions are tenacious At best, their balance sheets are not balanced. Instead, they are loaded with the liabilities and have no real assets that generate income. This is a nice point. Typically, their only source of income is their paycheck. Their livelihood becomes entirely dependent on their employer. So when genuine deals of lifetime come along, these people can take advantage of them because they are working so hard, are taxed to the max, and are loaded with debts. As I said at the start of the session, the most important rule is to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Once you understand the difference, concentrate your efforts on buying income generating assets. That's the best way to get started on a path to becoming rich. Keep doing that, your asset column will grow. Keep liabilities and expenses down so more money is available to continue pouring into the asset column. Soon, the asset base will be so deep that you can afford to look at more speculative investments. Investments that may have returns of 100% to infinity. $5,000 investments that are soon turned into 1 million or more. The investments that the middle class calls too risky, the investment is not risky for the financial literate. If if you do what the masses do, you get the following picture. So here's the teaching. So here's the income statement. As guys, you can see this is it is categorized into the income and the expenses. We're not talking about the income, work for the company, salary, expenses, work for the government. Um, income statement. So there is income. This person gets inside this income statement. I'm trying to understand this. There is income, and in terms of income, that's the side where he gets money. And in terms of expenses, the lower part there, it shows um the expenses, where the things which drain out money, such as tax. So it's like the salary gives them money, and the taxes withdraw money. We're not talking about the balance sheet. Assets, there is no assets, but liabilities are the mortgage, but there is no assets. And I can say this person might have the asset, the main asset as the workplace, and I don't really know if that's an asset, but as long as it gives them money, that's an asset. But in terms of a real time asset, like having some a place where or something which gives them money, there is not at all. So we can see how this thing goes around. As an employee who is also a homeowner, your working efforts are generally as follows. You work for the company. Employees make the business owner or the shareholders rich, not themselves. Your efforts and success will help provide for the owner's success and retirement. So you work for the company, and the employees make the business owners or shareholders rich. So the main issue about working for someone else is they don't really care about your betterment. You should know one thing. They don't really care about you. That's why they give you salary and they think that's grace. And after that, they chokehold you with like a million taxes. And in the long run, you In the long run, at the end of the month, you find yourself back to working for them once again because the waters are reaching the neck level now because there's so much things which are draining this small salary that these people gave you. So that's how the thing works. The only thing you do is profit the company. Nothing more, nothing less. Period. You work for the government. That's the second point. The government takes its share from your paycheck before you even say it. Jesus. By working harder, you simply increase the amount of taxes taken by the government. Most people work from January to May just for the government. Jesus Christ. So it's out of the 12 months of the year, it's like you've been working for 5 months alone, and all that money sums up as your total salary for 5 months. All that goes to the government. Hey, guys, if you're really, I don't really know from what age are you listening to this or you're reading this, I don't know from what age, but I wish anyone who is listening to this or reading this book should have known this book earlier, earlier than ever, because I think for some people it's already too late learning huge stuffs like these and this, um, like new level of understanding is quite weird for people, for folks like me, 19-year-old folk. But um, I think it's better to learn this pretty early. All right. Point three, you work for the bank. After taxes, your next largest expense is usually your mortgage and credit card debits. Okay. The problem with simply working harder is that each of these three levels takes a greater share of your increased efforts. You need to learn how to have your increased efforts benefit you and your family directly. Once you have decided to concentrate on minding your own business, focusing on your efforts, focusing your efforts on acquiring assets instead of bigger paycheck, how do you set your goals? Most people must keep their job and rely on their wages to fund the acquisition of assets. Hmm? As their assets grow, how do they measure the extent of the success? When does someone know that they are rich, that they have wealth, as well as having my own definitions of assets and liabilities? I also have my own definitions of wealth. Actually, I borrowed it from a man named R. Buckminster Fuller. Some call him a quack, and others call him a genius. Years ago, he got architects buzzing because he applied for a patent for something called a geodesic dome. But in the application, Fuller also said something about wealth. It was pretty confusing at first, but after reading it, it began to make some sense. So, what is this? Wealth is a person's ability to survive so many numbers of days forward, or if I stopped working today, how long could I survive? There's a question there to me. How long could I survive if I stopped living to my mom's, or if I stopped getting any kind of sources? How long could I survive? So that's what the wealth really means, according to this dude. Myself, I don't think if I got the actual points, The point is really obvious, but let's get the insights here. Unlike net worth, the difference between your assets and liabilities, which is often filled with the person's expensive junk and opinions of what things are worth, this definition creates the possibility for developing a truly accurate measurement. I could now measure and know where I was in terms of my goal to become financially independent. Okay. Although net worth often includes non-cash producing assets like stuff you bought that now sit in a garage, wealth measures how much money your money is making, and therefore your financial survivability. Wealth is the measure of the cash flow from the asset column compared with the expense column. Let's use an example. Let's say I have a cash flow from my asset column of $1,000 a month, and I have monthly expenses of $2,000. What is my wealth? Let's go back to about Minister Fuller's definition. Using this definition, how many days forward can I survive? Assuming a 30-day month, I have enough cash flow for a, for half a month. When I achieve 2000 a month cash flow from my assets, then I will be wealthy. So while I'm not yet rich, I am wealthy. I now have generated my from my assets each month that fully cover my monthly expenses. If I want to increase my expenses, I first must increase my cash flow to maintain this level of wealth. Sorry guys, I haven't got it myself. I want us to repeat from the part where it says let's use this example. Let's use this example. Let's say I have cash flow from my asset column of $1,000 a month. Okay, so you have a asset cash flow in your asset column. You bring in money $1,000 a month, and I have monthly expenses of $2,000. You bring in $1,000 and you flash out $2,000. What is my wealth? Okay, let's go to back Minister Fuller's definition. Using this definition, how many days forward can I survive? Assuming a 30-day month, I have enough cash flow. Okay, assuming a 30-day month, I have enough cash flow for a half a month. You see, you get $1,000, but the expenses are $2,000. That means that money can only sustain you for only a half a month. Okay, but when I achieve $2,000 a month cash flow from my assets, let's take an example. It's only your salary, then I'll be wealthy because I have been able to accommodate all this. It's my words. Let's get back. So while I'm not yet rich, I am wealthy. I now have income generated from my assets each month that fully cover my monthly expenses. If I want to increase my expenses, I first must increase my cash flow to maintain this level of wealth. Mm. Also, note that it is at this point that I'm no longer dependent on my wages. I have focused on and being successful in building an asset column that has made me financially independent. If I quit my job today, I will be able to cover my monthly expenses with the cash flow from my assets. Okay. My next goal will be to have excess cash flow from my assets reinvested into the asset column. The more money that goes into my asset column, the more asset column grows. The more my assets grow, the more my cash flow grows. And as long as I keep my expenses less than my cash flow from these assets, I grow richer with more and more income from sources other than my physical labor. As this reinvestment process continues, I am well on my way to becoming rich. Okay, so the biggest thing here, okay, just remember this simple observation. Okay, before I turn off to the next page. So the big deal here is try as much as possible to increase your assets column. I mean, try to, I'm just trying to take this, to picture this as a tank which it has it has taps which your asset is the tap which fills in water. Um, your asset is the your assets your asset is technically the top which fills in water, and the liabilities or expenses as are the taps which drain out water. So the try as much as possible to increase the taps which um bring pour in water, and try to make as much as possible the taps which drain out water much less. But expenses, some stuffs cannot be escaped, so I don't think if there is a way that you can reduce your expenses, because there are some basic needs that we all need and we cannot escape those. I think the bigger deal is increasing the taps which put in water. So if the taps which fill in water into the tank are are three, and your average expenses, or the taps which drain out water, at two, you're already wealthy or rich. That's the point I'm getting right now. Okay, so he says, just remember this simple observation. The rich buy assets, the poor only have expenses. The middle class buy liabilities they think are assets, like loans. My God. So how do I start minding my own business? What is the answer? Listen to the founder of McDonald's in the next chapter. Whoa, guys, at last we've reached in lesson 3, and we're on page 65. We're not even halfway there, but we gotta keep going. Gotta keep going. The rich focus on their asset columns. Okay, so chapter 3, lesson 3. Mind your own business. The rich focus on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements. Mhm. In 1974, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was asked to speak to the MBA class at the University of Texas at Austin. A friend of mine was a student in that MBA class. After a powerful and inspiring talk, the class adjourned adjourned, and the students if asked Ray if he would join them at their favorite hangout to have a few beers. Ray graciously accepted. "Mhm. What business am I in?" Ray asked. Once the group had all their beers in hand, everyone laughed. My friend said most of the MBA students thought Ray was just fooling around. No one answered, so Ray asked again, "What business do you think I am in?" The students laughed again, and finally, one brave soul yelled out, "Ray, who in the world doesn't know that you are in the hamburger business?" Ray chuckled. "That's what I thought you would say." He paused, then quickly added, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." As my friend tells the story, Ray spent a good amount of time explaining his viewpoints. In his business plan, Ray knew that the primary business focus was to sell a hamburger franchise. He knew that the land and its location were the most significant factors in the success of each franchise. Basically, the person who thought the franchise was also buying the real estate and the franchise of Ray Kroc's organization. Hmm. Today, McDonald's is the largest single owner of real estate in the world, owning over more than the Catholic Church. Jesus. McDonald's owns some of the most valuable intersections and street corners in America and around the globe. My friend considers this as one of the most important lessons in his life. Today he owns car washes, but his business is the real estate and those car washes. The previous chapter presented diagrams illustrating that most people work for everyone but themselves. They work first for the owners of the company, then the government through taxes, and finally for the bank that owns the mortgage. When I was a young boy, we did not have McDonald's nearby, yet my rich dad was responsible for teaching Mike and me the same lesson that Ray Kroc talked about at the University of Texas. It is secret number three of the rich. The secret is mind your own business. Financial struggle is often directly the result of people working all their lives for someone else. Many people will simply have nothing at the end of their lives for someone else. Many people will simply have nothing at the end of their working days to show for their efforts. Our current education system focuses on preparing today's youth to get good jobs by developing scholastic skills. Their lives will revolve around their wages, or, as described earlier, their income column. Many will start further to these professions to become engineers, scientists, cooks, police officers, artists, writers, and so on. These professional skills allow them to enter the workforce and work for money. But there is a big difference between your profession, and your business. Often I ask people, "What is your business?" And they all say, "Oh, I'm a banker. Then I'll ask them if they own a bank, if they own the bank, and they usually respond, "No, I work there." In that instance, they have focused their profession with their business. Their profession may be a banker, but they still need their own business. A problem with school is that you often become what you study. So if you study cooking, you become a chef. If you study the law, you become an attorney. And a study of auto mechanics makes you a mechanic. The mistake in becoming what you study is that too many people forget to mind their own business. They spend their lives minding someone else's business and making that person rich. I bet you understand, whoever is listening. To become financially secure, a person needs to own their own business. Your business revolves around your asset column, not your income column. As stated earlier, the number one rule is to know the difference between an asset and a liability, and to buy assets. The rich focus on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements. That is why we hear so often, "I need a raise. If only I had a promotion." My God. "I'm going back to school to get more training so I can get a better job. I'm going to work overtime. Maybe I can get a second job." In some circles, these are sensitive ideas, but you are still not minding your own business. These ideas all still focus on the income column and will only help a person become more financially secure if additional money is used to purchase income generating assets. Financial struggle is often the result of people working all their lives for someone else. The primary reason for the majority of people of poor and middle class are fiscally conservative, which means I can't afford to take risks. Is that is that they have no financial foundation. They have to cling to their jobs and play it safe. When downsizing when downsizing became the in thing to do, millions of workers found out their largest so-called asset, their home, was eating them alive. Their asset was costing them money every month. Their car, another asset, was eating them alive. The golf club in the garage that cost $1,000 were not were not worth $1,000 anymore. Without job security, they had nothing to fall back on. What they thought were assets could not help them survive in a time of financial crisis. I assume most of us have filled out a credit application to buy a house or a car. It's always interesting to look at the net worth section because of what accepted banking and accounting practices allow a person to count as assets. One day, when I was when I wanted a loan, my financial position did not look so good. So I added my new golf clubs, my art collection, books, electronics, Armani suits, Armani suits, wristwatches, shoes, and other personal effects to boost the number of the asset column. But I was turned down because I had too much investment. Re- I had too much investment real estate. The loan committee did not like that I had made so much money from rent. They wanted to know why I did not have normal job with a salary. They did not question the Armani suits, golf clubs, or collection. Life is sometimes tough when you do not fit the standard profile. I cringe every time I hear someone say to me that their net worth is $1 million or $100,000 or wherever. One of the main reasons net worth is not accurate is simply because the moment you begin selling your assets, you are taxed for any gains. So many people have put themselves in deep financial trouble when they run short of income to raise cash. They sell their assets, but their personal assets can generally be sold for only a fraction of the value that is used um, on the personal balance sheet. Or if there is a gain on the sales of the assets, they have taxed on the gain. So again, the government takes its share, thus reducing the amount available to help them out of the debt. That is why I say someone's net worth is often worth less than you think. Start minding your own business. Keep your daytime job. Start buying real assets, not liabilities or personal effects that have no real value once you get them home. A new car loses nearly 25% of the price you pay for it the moment you drive it off the lot. Jesus. It is not a true asset even if your banker lets you list it as one. My $400 new titanium driver was worth $150 the moment I teed off. The expenses keep expenses low, reduce liabilities and diligently build a base of a solid assets. For young people who have not yet left home, it is important for parents to teach them the difference between an asset and liability. Yeah. Get them to start a building Get them to start building a solid asset column before they leave home. Get married, buy a house, have kids, and get stuck in a risky financial position, clinging to a job and buying everything on credit. I see so many young couples who get married and trap themselves into a lifestyle that will not let them get out of debt for most of their working years. For many people, just as the last child leaves home, the parents realize they have not adequately prepared for retirement and they begin to scramble to put some money away. Then their own parents become ill and they find themselves with new responsibilities. So, what kind of asset am I suggesting that you or your children acquire? In my world, assets fall into the following categories. Man, I'm really liking this book. It's really teaching me a lot, bro. Businesses that do not require my presence, I own them, but they are managed or run by other people. If I have to work there, it's not a business, it becomes my job. Nice one. If I have to work there, then it is not a business, it's my job. Mm. Stocks, bonds, income generating real estates, notes, royalties from intellectual property, such as music, scripts, and parents, and patents. Anything else that has value, produces income, or appreciates and has a ready market. Has a ready market. Okay, and I'll start working on this. As a young boy, my educated dad encouraged me to find a safe job, but my rich dad encouraged me to begin acquiring assets that I loved. If you don't love it, you won't take care of it. I collect real estate simply because I love buildings and lands. I love shopping for them, and I could look out at them all day long. When problems arise, the problems aren't so bad that it changes my love for real estate. For people who hate real estate, they shouldn't buy it. I also love stocks of of small companies and especially startups because I am an entrepreneur, not a corporate person. In my early years, I worked in large organizations such as Standard Oil of California, the U.S. Marine Corps, and the Xerox Corps. I enjoyed my time with those organizations, and I have fond memories. But I know deep down I am not a company man. I like starting companies, not running them. So my stock buys are usually of small companies. Sometimes I even start the company and take it public. Fortunes are made in new stock issues, and I love the game. Many people are afraid of small cap companies and call them risky, and they are. But that risk is diminished if you love what the investment is, understanding it and know the game. With small companies, my investment strategy is to be out of the stock in a year. On the other hand, my real estate strategy is to start small and keep trading up for bigger properties and therefore daily paying taxes on the gain. This allows the value to increase dramatically. I generally hold real estate less than 7 years. Hmm. Start minding my own business. Keep my daytime job, keep your daytime job, but start buying real estates, not liabilities. For years, even while I was with Marine Corps and Xerox, I did what my rich dad recommended. I kept my day job, but I still minded my own business. I was active in my asset column, trading real estate and small stocks. Rich Dad always stressed the importance of financial literacy. The better I was at understanding the accounting and cash management, the better I would be at analyzing investments and eventually starting and building my own company. I don't encourage anyone to start a company unless they really want to. Knowing what I know about running a company, I wouldn't risk what that task I wouldn't risk that task on anyone. Let me repeat this one again. It's a bar, guys. I don't encourage anyone to start a company unless they really want to. Knowing what I know about running a company, I wouldn't wish that task on anyone. There are times when people can't find employment and start a company. Seems like the best solution. But the odds are against success, guys. 9 out of 10 companies fall in 5 years. Yo, let's pause there. Myself, I would like to give a little talk, a little testimony. I know this one person who started a company, who started a business, all right? It was a microfinance, which locally gives loans to local people, you know, in the streets. Man, business, dude, if you're not really prepared with the accurate plans and backup plans, I don't know. I actually saw it. I saw the business collapsing in 1 month. You can't believe. It took 4 weeks and the business was down. Bro went back to sell all the assets he bought. He bought chairs, he bought tables, he bought ceiling fan. He made like an office there. He went to sell everything. Yo, business is so difficult, bro. If you're not really planning and you're not so into it. As bro here is saying, actually the person quit his job. The person that I know quit his job. It was actually my relative. He quit his job. He was like, he quit his job and then he took his pension, like the money that is accumulated due to you working there. He got like just $5,000. And then he went to start the business. Bro, he started the business like he had the idea tonight. Morning, he started buying stuffs, registering stuffs. Yo, it took him 4 weeks and he went back to zero. By the way, everything that he bought, when he went to sell them back, everything was at a lower value. He buys stuff for $100, he sells it at $70. See the problem? So that became a very huge loss, and bro, right now I don't know, he's back to finding, he found a job once again, and it's a very low paying job. I don't know. So make sure you plan out. It is something that I'm learning myself, and whoever is learning this with me, should also take this into consideration, I guess. Let's go. So let's proceed. There are times when people can't find employment and start a company, and starting a company seems like the best solution, but the odds are against success. 9 out of 10 companies fail in 5 years. Of those that survive the first 5 years, 9 out of 10 companies fall in 5 years. Wait, 9 out of every 10 of those eventually fail as well. So only if you really have the desire to own your own company do I recommend it. Or otherwise, keep your day job and mind your own business. When I mind my own business, I mean to build and keep your asset column strong. Once a dollar goes into it, never let it come out. Think of it this way. Once a dollar goes into your asset column, it becomes your employee. The best thing about money is that it works 24 hours a day and can work for generations. Keep your day job. Be a great hardworking employee, but keep building that asset column. As your cash flow grows, you can indulge in some luxuries. An important distinction is that rich people buy luxuries fast. No, rich people buys luxuries last. Hmm. While poor and middle class tend to buy luxuries first. The poor and middle class often buy luxury items like big houses, diamonds, fur, jewelries, or boats because they want to look rich. They look rich, but in reality they just get deeper into debt or credit. The old money people, the long-term rich, build the asset column first, then the income generated from the asset column buys the luxuries. The poor and middle class buys luxuries with their own sweat, blood, and children inheritance. My God, so sad. A true luxury is a reward for investing in and developing a real asset. For example, when my wife Kim and I had extra money coming from our apartments, houses, she went out and bought her Mercedes. It didn't take any extra work or risk on her part because the apartment house bought the car. She did, however, um, have to wait for 4 years while the real estate investment portfolio grew and began generating enough extra cash flow to pay for the car. But the Mercedes was a true reward because she proved she knew how to grow her asset column. That car now means a lot more than simply another pretty car. It means she used her financial intelligence to afford it. Instead, most people impulsively go out and buy a new car or some other luxury on credit. They may feel bored and just want a new toy. Buying a luxury on credit often causes a person to eventually resent that luxury because the debit becomes a financial burden. After you have taken the time and invested in and built your own business, you are now ready to learn the biggest secret of rich. The secret that puts the rich way ahead of the pack. Hmm, it's an interesting sentence. Let's see. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. Chapter 4, Lesson 4. My rich dad, yes, played the game smart, and he did it through corporations. The biggest secret of the rich. Mm. I remember in school, wait, guys, I think this is where we'll proceed tomorrow because I think it's a way good head start. We can actually know where we're actually starting from a pretty good checkpoint right here. So I think guys you took some value from reading this. Guys, myself this book is really inspiring me to start in any way to increase my value. And guys, I'm testifying this right now. Okay, I'm from Tanzania. My country is Tanzania. We're using Tanzanian shillings and $1 here is equal to 2,500 Tanzanian shillings. That's $1. Right now, I have 1,000 Tanzanian shillings. This is the money that I'm starting with right now as I'm speaking, which is worth approximately a half of a dollar. I think like around 30, I don't know, 30 cents. I think 30 cents. I'm pretty sure. That's the amount that I'm having right now. So after saying so,